this one, and I think we are live. Good evening, good afternoon, everybody. Thank you very much for joining me. Let me know if you can see me and hear me okay, and welcome to the new studio. This is the first live Q&A from the new studio with a different camera that's on me. Most of the rest of the stuff is the same, but I am in a different room, so the lighting is different. I've even got the window open today, and unlike the old studio, the window that's over there is at the front of the house, so it is noisier outside than it used to be before. Hopefully the noise suppression is filtering all of that out, but we might get vans going outside. We might have all sorts of things happening. But yes, welcome to the live Q&A for August 2025. And hello and welcome to anybody who hasn't seen any of these live Q&As before. We're going to be following the same format as we normally do. I'm going to be answering all of the questions that I have been asked in advance over on my guild on Board Game Geek. So thank you very much to everybody who has posted questions on there over the last few days. That will take about half of the show. And then after that, we'll be going over to the live questions. So if you are watching this live and you do have any questions for me, please put them in the chat, but start with the word question in capitals. The reason for that is it's very difficult to filter out from all of the chat that's going on which ones are questions and which ones are not questions. And Vicky is monitoring the chat and she will transfer any questions over to a document which I'm looking at, etc., etc. So yes, welcome to this month's live Q&A. We've got a few things to go through today. First of all, as I mentioned, I'm going to be going through all of the questions that I've been asked in advance. We have the winner of last month's live Q&A. We have this month's live Q&A giveaway, which there's a little bit of a surprise that I'm going to throw in, and some extra stuff as well. And then, as I say, we'll go over to the live questions. So let's make a start, and we'll have breaks now and again. We also have two cats with us in the room. I've got Thor under here. Loki is... I don't know. Loki's gone. Loki came in, wanted cuddles, then didn't want cuddles, and then left. But that's what Loki does. Right, okay, so let's switch over to the live questions. Not the live questions, the questions in advance. And the first one's from Brian. In fact, there's 5 questions from Brian, so make yourselves comfortable. The first one is, Brian says, in your previous video, so last month's live Q&A, I mentioned that I would try to add Endeavour Deep Sea to the GridCon library. And Brian says, have I done that yet? Well, I don't have the game yet, but I am going to be getting the game. And I have to say a shout out to James Wilkinson, a fellow content creator, Board Games James, and patron supporter of mine. Andy James has become a friend over the last couple of years. Turns out James lives a few blocks away from the marketing guy at the publisher who creates Deep Sea and Endeavour Deep Sea, which is Burnt Island Games. Is it Burnt Island Games? Somebody tell me if I'm right. Anyway, so there will be a copy in the GridCon library, and in fact, James is bringing that copy with him. So yeah, the plan is that they're going to give the copy to James, and James is going to actually bring it with him. Was it Burnt Island Games? Yeah, what did I do now? Yes, Burnt Island Games. Whoa, there you go. Right, so yes, there is going to be a copy in the GridCon library. Second question from Brian. How are additions to the library decided? Is it general popularity, attendee vote, etc.? Most of the time it's down to me, but I will include my patron supporters as always in all of these things. So for my patron supporters, we have a Slack channel. On that Slack channel, there is a GridCon sub-channel within Slack. And in the weeks before GridCon is happening, I will come up the library and I will post it to my patron supporters and I will say, what else do you think should be in the library? But generally speaking, it's a relatively easy decision. Any new game which has come out at Essen, I will include in the library. So a lot of the new games that I come back with from Essen, they will all be in the library. But then I'll go on to Brian's other questions because he says, how are deletions handled? So anything that was in the library in previous years, how do I decide whether it gets dropped out or not? And the general philosophy is, and Brian's hit the nail on the head here, if it doesn't get played unless it's a classic, and that's absolutely right. So for example, Pandemic, Ticket to Ride, Cascadia, things like that will always be in the library. Pandemic has been in the library for the last 2 years and has never been borrowed, but it's staying in the library. One of the reasons for that is not only is it a classic, but the year where I don't include it in the library, somebody's bound to want to borrow it. And it's a relatively small box. When you're looking at a game with a massive box, that will help me determine whether it actually stays in the library or not. Where and how is the library stored? Here, the library is my collection. It's not all of my collection. It is a subset of my collection, but the GridCon library is not a separate thing. It does not have a home. It does not live in boxes or anything like that. It lives in this house, and they are the games that I will be using. Now, there are certain games which are in the library, for example, Pandemic, which I am unlikely to play myself during the year. That might get put into one of the storage rooms that we have in the house, in boxes, ready for the next GridCon to happen. But in general, it's my library. And how is the library transported? It's us, in boxes, with cars. It's one of the things that actually takes a huge amount of preparation at GridCon, because over the sort of week or two before GridCon, I have to go round and package up. How many games do we have in the library? Like 200 or 120? I think it's about 120, 130 games in the library. And I have to get all of those, label them, put them in boxes, label the boxes, and then we have friends that turn up with cars and we put them in our car. One of my supporters who attends has got a van, and we sometimes get the use of his van as well. So yeah, we transport them. So yeah, going back to your previous question, how are new additions to the library decided? It can be Patreon votes. What I will do is I might say, here's the library, here's all of the new games that have been added, here's my BGG collection. Are there any games from my BGG collection which you think should be added? And what we did last year for GridCon 5, was it 5 last year? It's 5 last year. Yeah, what we did is we actually added in about 3 or 4 older games from my collection into the library, which have never been part of the library before. I don't think any of them got borrowed, so it was worth me doing it, and I might do the same this year. I might say, I'll tell you what, let's get this game, you know, this older game that I haven't played for a while, but is a really good game. I'll put it into the library just in case anybody wants to borrow it. I might do that for a few games, but hopefully that has answered all of your questions, Brian. Next question from Keith. Have you ever set up a game on your table and before starting had to give it up as you'd run out of room to place everything? If yes, what happened to the game subsequently? And if no, which game claimed the closest to being unset-upable? So I've never actually had it happen where I tried to set a game up, ran out of space, and then decided, I'll tell you what, I'm not going to bother and put the game away. The closest I've come to it was, I think it was Christmas Day last year. So Christmas Day last year, we were sat down, Vicky was doing her jigsaws, we had something on TV, and I decided I wanted to play Civolution. So I got a little table, square table, I put it onto a thing in front of me, and I sat there in my normal chair in the living room with something on TV, and I started setting up Civolution, and I ran out of space, and I'm like, right, what am I going to do here? Well, I'll get another side table. So I got another side table and I put one of the boards on there and I went, right, I'm okay, I'm all set up. Wait a minute, I haven't got any of the cards out. Right, where are the cards going to go? I'm going to have to get another side table. So I ended up basically fencing myself in, surrounded by 3 side tables, and I couldn't move. I couldn't get out. So I had to finish the game before I could even go to the loo. But I did manage to play it. But that is the closest that I've ever come. Civilization does have it does require a lot of gaming space, even when you're playing solo. Next question from Majestic Cloth. Considering that you run live streams, running the game and also managing to play the game at the same time, and don't forget to mention teaching other people and constantly reminding them of rules that they forget and they keep asking me about. Do I enjoy playing games more if I was not streaming and running the game, or is it the same regardless? It's a really good question, because until probably about 4 or 6 weeks ago, I would say it's about the same. It's about the same regardless. Because I think somebody asked me it about 2 months ago, or I just started thinking about it myself. And since then, I've been paying more attention to how it feels playing a game when I'm live streaming it compared to how it feels when I'm not live streaming it. And I think until about 2 months ago, I was of the opinion that it isn't really any different, but it is. And I've become more aware of it only because I've been actually, thinking about it more. So when I'm doing a live stream, I am constantly looking at the audio levels, constantly looking at the stream, constantly looking at the chat, constantly looking at alerts, whilst also trying to teach the game, run the game. And if it's a sponsored video, if I'm actually being paid to create that video, my nervous levels go up by an order of magnitude, because I'm being paid for this. I've got to make sure I've got it right. Am I remembering the rule correctly? And if I've had a bad night's sleep, am I, I'm all aware of all of those things all going on at the same time. And as somebody who does suffer from a lot of anxiety and nervousness and things like this, I am on edge for the entire time that I'm doing live streams, because somebody might knock the microphone, somebody might accidentally knock a camera so it wobbles or anything like that. Or I might get a rule wrong and then remember later on and I'm like, panic. So yeah, when I'm not streaming, there is none of that. There is none of that worry whatsoever. Now, I might make it sound like this is a horrible job. Why am I putting myself through that? Well, two reasons. First of all, I'm stubborn, and this is my job, so I'm not just going to give it up, even though it does have a drain on my mental energy and my mental health. But also, I've been doing this now for I don't know how long. When will we be able to do live streaming? 2020, only 2020. Just before COVID. Wow. So yeah, we didn't have good enough broadband in this house for me to be able to do live streaming until apparently just before COVID. So I've only been doing it for like 5 years, but because I do it so often that I'm not going to say I'm used to it, and I'm not going to say it's made it any easier. And I've got a bit of a nut in my throat because I was eating some nuts just before the stream. But I am more used to it than when I started, but it is still quite difficult. So yes, thank you for the question. Right, next question from Greg. He says, like you, I am a fan of card games. Excellent. What is my ranking of games that are or like living card games? Well, let's go into the definition of a living card game. So a living card game, for those of you that don't know, is a term that was created by Fantasy Flight Games when they started creating a series of card games that were not collectible card games. So collectible card games or trading card games are ones where when you buy some of the product, you get a random distribution of cards, and therefore you will trade away any spares that you have with other people, and you've got to buy loads and loads and loads of product. What Fantasy Flight Games did is they created the living card game model where it was a fixed thing. You bought a pack and you got these cards in that pack. And yes, they did used to release them on a monthly cycle. They don't do that anymore, but you always knew what you were getting. But fundamentally, that is the distribution model. There is nothing different, for example, between Netrunner, as Fantasy Flight Games published it, so Android Netrunner to give it its proper name, and the original Netrunner that was published by Wizards of the Coast back in 1996. Now, the two games are slightly different, but they are the same game, but one of them was the standard trading card game model where you bought booster packs and didn't know what you were going to get, and the other one was a living card game model where you bought a pack and you knew exactly what you were going to get. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to ignore the distribution model, and when you say like a living card game, I'm going to say like any card game, which suddenly opens this out to a huge scale of things. However, you will find that some of my favorites used the living card game distribution model, but Marvel Champions is one of my favorite games of all time. I absolutely love it, and if it isn't in my top 10, it's definitely in my top 20. That is a living card game published by Fantasy Flight Games. Arkham Horror, the card game, is also a living card game. Now, both of those games are cooperative. Netrunner, I've mentioned. Netrunner is one of my favorite games of all time, and I've been playing it for almost, is it 40 years now? No, it can't be 40 years, 30 years. 30 years. I've been playing Netrunner since it originally came out. Netrunner is an amazing game, originally published by Wizards of the Coast, then picked up by Fantasy Flight Games and published as Android Netrunner, and now Null Signal Games are producing it and still supporting the game. Other games that I really enjoy are Mage Wars, and I prefer Mage Wars Academy to the actual full Mage Wars. I love the idea of a spellbook. I love the idea that you construct a deck, but it isn't a deck of cards. You actually have a spellbook, and therefore whenever you need a particular card, you can just go and get it out of your spellbook. It's just, I love that concept, and I'm surprised that more games didn't use that concept. And I also really love Ashes Rise of the Phoenix Spawn. And it pains me to say that there is now a cooperative version of Ashes Rise of the Phoenix Spawn, and I've never actually got round to playing it. So the reason why I'm grouping all of those games together is I'm classing those games as deck construction games. So there is an important definition here, and most people watching this video probably know this definition. If you don't, I'm now going to define it, and please let me know in the chat if this is new information to you. There's two main types of card games. There are deck construction card games, and there are deck builders. Now, the terminology is a little bit blurred, because in a deck construction card game, you build your deck before the game starts. And all of those games that I've just said, Marvel Champions, Arkham Horror, Netrunner, Mage Wars, Ashes, the Star Wars card game is also really good. But in all of those games, you create your deck before the game starts. And then you play the game with the deck that you bring to the table. That is a deck construction game. A deck building game is a relatively new piece of terminology because it came in with Dominion, and a deck building game is where you start with a deck of cards and you will be adding to that deck over the course of the game. And there are hundreds of deck building games out there, Dominion being, I think, one of the first ones, if not the first one that was generally attributed to being a deck building game. So I'm not going to include deck building games in my favorites. I'm talking about deck construction games where you have to construct your deck beforehand. Hopefully they are some good ones, but I'm curious to know what you think about this. If you are watching this video live, what are your favorite games where you build a deck before the game actually starts? And if you're watching this back afterwards, leave me a comment in the chat. Let me know what your favorite games are that use deck construction rather than deck building. The follow-up question from Greg is, how do other card games, for example, Star Trek Captain's Chair, rate against these? Well, Star Trek Captain's Chair is a deck builder. So in Star Trek Captain's Chair, you have your starting deck, which is based on your captain, and it is a set of cards specifically tuned to your captain, but it is a deck builder because you will be going through your deck multiple times during the game. You will be adding new cards into your deck as the game goes on, which is a deck builder rather than deck construction. In Star Trek Captain's Chair, there is zero deck construction before the game begins. You don't have to do any preparation before the game actually starts, apart from choosing which captain you want to play. So it's very difficult to compare the two, really. I mean, I love Star Trek Captain's Chair. I absolutely adore the game. I think it's an amazing, incredible game. But it's very difficult for me to compare it to the others, even though it is a card game that uses cards. Right, next question from Board Games James. He says, it's his birthday and the local Toronto board game convention on March 20th to March 22nd, 2026. Do I fancy a trip across the pond? I'd love to. I have been to Toronto. In fact, I was in Toronto on holiday in 97? I think it was 97. So I had a friend in the UK who moved to Canada, got together with a girl, got married, and I flew over there and I was his best man. And then after that, I decided to hire a car and drive around the northeastern part of Canada. So I went to Montreal, Quebec, went to Toronto, and while I was in Toronto, I actually entered a Magic the Gathering tournament. It was when Mirage was out. So if somebody can tell me when Mirage was out, I think it was 1997. But I entered this Mirage sealed deck. It might have even been the pre-release in Toronto. And literally there were hundreds and hundreds of people there. There were way too many people for the event. We were sat in the corridor playing our games. I always remember that. And then I drove back through the United States and then flew home again. Remind me nearer the time, James. But honestly, I'd love to. It's just a case of taking the time off to do it. Next question is from John. John says, the enjoyment factor of any given game is sometimes greatly influenced by the people at the table with you. What are some games that you will only play if there are specific people at the table? Or possibly, what are some games that you will not play if there are certain people at the table? So, and if you can hear the wailing, that isn't a baby. That is Thor, who is acting like a baby because he wants to go out and we're not letting him out. So I just realised I'm not sat in the centre of the screen. Right, so what were the questions again? I've alt-tabbed and missed it. So what games will I only play if there are specific people at the table? I'm trying to think if there are any games that I will only play if there are specific people in. I don't think there are any. However, what are some games that you will not play if there are certain people at the table? That's loads. And that comprises of a few things. First of all, Vicky, there's most of my collection I will not play if Vicky is at the table because she's not going to like them. So there is a small subset of games that I can play with Vicky. Now, Vicky's the extreme case in terms of she's not a gamer. She doesn't really enjoy playing games as such, apart from certain ones that we do play together. Most people who come round here, the kind of games that they generally like are the same as what I like. But even saying that, there are certain games that I wouldn't play with certain people. Either because I know they're not suited to it, or there's going to be too much downtime, or if we've got a game, for example, where there is an element of negotiation or calling each other traitors or anything like that, then there are certain people who I know can get a little bit shouty and argumentative. I feel uncomfortable in playing those games with those people. So yeah, there are certain games that I wouldn't suggest with some of my friends. Now, Avron has got a follow-up question. He's curious about the reverse. Are there games where the players are very unlikely to influence your willingness or interest in playing? Yes. But that said, it is because I am very fortunate that most of the people I play games with like the same kind of games that I play. So, for example, you're saying, are there games where the players are very unlikely to influence your willingness or interest in playing? Yes. So, for example, I went to Manacon recently, and while I was at Manacon, I said, I want to play this game, Dirt and Dust, Kinfire Council, Nanolith, and I opened it up to my Patreon supporters, and I said, who wants to join me? And a whole bunch of my Patreon supporters said, yeah, I fancy playing that with you, or I want to play that, or I want to play that. I'm not going to say that the people at the table didn't affect my enjoyment of the game, but my willingness to play that game was totally unaffected by the people who signed up for it, because I was going to play it anyway. And like I said, I kind of know most of the people that I play games with, and I know what kind of game they like. And I kind of hope that they wouldn't have just said, oh, I'll jump into that game even though I don't know anything about it, and then found out, oh, wait a minute, this is a kind of game that I absolutely hate. Hopefully they wouldn't have done that. Right, moving on. Next question from Karen. What are some game components that really annoy you besides bad rulebooks? Okay, now I was trying to have a think about this earlier on. Some of the examples are weird shaped cards, draw bags that are too small for your hand, cardboard tokens with irregular sharp edges, inserts for cards where the finger holes don't go all the way down. Oh, you're making my blood boil here. Score tokens with different values on each side, tracker clips on cards, bad score tracks, cardboard constructs that need to be disassembled to fit. Yeah, all of them. So all of them and more. But let's just go through them. First of all, weird shaped cards. Thankfully, now we have lots and lots of card sleeves available in a multitude of sizes. But it kind of annoys me, especially now, if a game's publisher creates a game with cards which need to be shuffled and they are of a different size than every sleeve that's currently available. Why? Why have you done that? There is no reason to do that. So that would annoy me. Draw bags that are too small for your hand. Yes, now that has happened. I remember a game a number of years ago. I can't remember exactly which game it was, but it was a Tony Boydell game, and they admitted that the draw bag that they included in it, you couldn't even get your hand in it. It was hilarious. Cardboard tokens with irregular and sharp edges. That doesn't bother me too much. Inserts for cards where the finger holes don't go all the way down. Right. So one thing that has been annoying me a lot recently is exactly this. And please tell me if I don't think I'm on my own on this, but you get this game with a fancy insert, and the insert is, generally speaking, a good insert. And you've got this well where the cards go, and then you right next to it, you've got this finger hole. And what you do is you put your finger down the hole and you pull it up, and it leaves 2 cards in the bottom, because the finger hole is not deep enough for you to actually grip the bottom cards. It's like, why? You've gone to all of this effort, you've designed this insert, you've put a finger hole in it, and yet it doesn't go all the way down. It really annoys me. So yeah, I'm with you on that one. Score tokens with different values on each side. I don't mind score tokens. Score tokens where it's 0 on one side or and plus 100 on the other. That's fine. I like that. What I don't like is resource tokens with a different value on both sides. That annoys the heck out of me. Where you've got tokens which are, they've got a 1 on one side and a 3 on the other. That really annoys me. Why does it really annoy me? Because of the impact it has on gameplay. These tokens are so easily accidentally flipped over, especially when you're picking them up. If I want to take 4 wood, I want to reach into a bowl and I want to take 4 counters out of that and I want to put those 4 counters in front of me. I don't want to then look at them and go, oh, this one's flipped over to a 3. I now need to flip them back. No, I really, really hate that in games. Tracker clips on the side of cards. Yeah, it damages the cards. It's just this really, really silly idea. Cardboard constructs that need to be disassembled to fit back in the box. Yeah, all of those. If you have your own thoughts, again, please leave me a comment on this video. Things that annoy you in games, and we're talking about production of games, production decisions that have been made in games, which are actually really annoying. Oh, Thori. Oh, no, he's fine. So in the new studio, I now have a separate table other than the one that I'm sat at. This is the one that I use for the live streams. I now have, over on the other side of the room, I have a second table, which is where I'm filming the how to play videos. This is a huge quality of life improvement for me because I can now leave Perseverance episode 4 set up over there. And then tomorrow when I'm playing Thebai, I can play it here and I can still leave that set up over there. It's a separate table. It's over there and there is a game set up on it. There is now a cat sat on that table. And we're keeping a close eye on him because if we're not careful, he's going to start eating some of the components. But he's being good. In fact, he's very sleepy. Oh, look at those eyes. Oh, he's so sleepy. Anyway, right, moving on. John has got a question. This is John Melby over in America. Hello, John, if you are watching us live, but hello if you're watching back afterwards. John is part of the BGG demo team. If you ever go to BGG Con and you are in the hot games area, John is one of those people that gives up his time and teaches people all of the hot games. So every year they have like 20, 25 hot new games that have just come out. And John is one of the people that learns as many of them as he can. Now, aside from that, John says that he's the primary person in his group who learns and teaches games. And he sometimes feels that this gives him an edge on his first play of a game. Do I see the same thing when I teach, and how would you avoid it? So personally, I don't feel it gives me an edge. And the reason for that is when I am learning a game, just reading the rule book or, going through it myself, I won't really get an idea of how the game plays to a level where I can then use that to my advantage. I don't think I can. I would need at least one game of it and then get to the end of the game and realize, oh, wait a minute, you got 3,000 points because you managed to unlock the golden door. Ah, right. Okay. Maybe I should now look at unlocking the golden door. So I will read a rule book and learn how to play the game. I won't have an idea of any strategy, and I don't think knowing the rules of the game will give me an edge over the other players. And the second thing that I have to comment on that is, although I am a competitive player and I will always try to win at the game that I'm playing, my primary focus in life is to help people and teach people. Therefore, if I'm reading the rule book of a game and I find something in here, like a little box that says, by the way, opening the golden door is really good, and if you don't do it, you won't win the game, make sure you know that. I'm exaggerating here, but what I'm saying is, if from reading the rule book, I will pick up on something which is clearly important, then I will make sure that I teach the other people that when I'm actually teaching them the game. But you've got to be very careful with this. And I will say this as a word of warning. The example that I've just given has been very extreme. But let's say you learn a game from the rulebook and you come away from reading the rulebook and you think, okay, I've read the rulebook and I think that unless you build 5 buildings in this game, you're not going to win. That's my opinion from reading the rulebook. If you then teach other people how to play and you say to them, you need to build 5 buildings in this game, otherwise you won't win, suddenly you've got a groupthink and you've got a problem. So don't do that. Avoid that. You could say, I've read the rulebook this afternoon, and although I don't know because I haven't played the game yet, but I've got a feeling that building a lot of buildings might be a really useful thing to do in this game, but I'm not sure because I haven't played it yet, then that's fine. So I will always share with people anything that I've learnt about the game with the caveat that I might be wrong because I've never played it before. Johnny's also asking, what camera gear do I use in the new studio? Well, John, what I will do is I will point you to a thread on Board Game Geek, on my guild, on Board Game Geek, which if you're not a member of, Vicky is going to put a link to it in the chat right now. Please go over, if you are not already a member of my guild on Board Game Geek, guild number 2258, click the little join button and then click the little subscribe button. But on the guild is a thread where I have a list of all of the camera equipment that I've got. And tonight, I promise you that I will update it with all of my current camera setup. However, what I will tell you is the main overhead camera is the same overhead camera that I've had for over a year. The only cameras that are different is this one, which is a Logitech Brio webcam, which is what I'm using right now for on me. The other cameras that I use for various other things have stayed the same. The only new camera that I bought for the new studio is a second Logitech Brio, because I've got one there which points to the other people, and I've now got one there which points to me. Right, moving on. Darren says, and this is also related to teaching people games. For the rules on special powers, would you ever state the rule as it is for all players and then explain how it works for the player with the power? For example, normally, players must assign all damage to a single enemy, but you, because you're special, you can split your damage between several enemies. Absolutely, 100% yes. This is one of the easiest questions that I've ever been asked. You've got to do that. You've got to do that not just for that player, but for the benefit of everybody else around the table. If you don't explain to that player what the normal rule is and then what their rule is, anybody listening to that explanation will think that the rule you're speaking to that player also applies to them. So you've got to say, for the benefit of everybody at the table, look, this is the normal rule, but for you, this is your rule. There is also another very good reason why you should do that. What happens if you teach that person how to play the game and they go, thank you very much, that was great, see ya. They go off, buy the game, and then go and teach it to their friends. And suddenly, the rules that they teach to their friend are the special rules for their one player that they played during that game. So yeah, always, always, always tell them what the main rule is and then tell them how theirs is different. Right, next question from Bart. This is a Jaffa cake variation question. Apparently, there is a chip shop in Ireland that sells battered Jaffa cakes. Aye or nay? Well, it has to be an aye. I'm not a big fan of like things like battered Mars bars. I say I'm not a big fan. I've never had one, and I do like fish. I do like fish in batter. So yeah, definitely, absolutely, definitely. Yeah, if we had a deep fat fryer, do we have a deep fat fryer? We threw it out, didn't we? Yeah, we had a deep fat fryer in the garage that had been there for about 8 years and never been used, and I think we eventually threw it out. But yes, deep fried Jaffa cakes. Let's go for that. It's worth a try. Next question from Ronald. In your new studio, you now have white soundboards behind you. Do I? Where? Oh, these. Yes, I do. Is it possible to paint something fun on them? Do I have any plans to do that? So these sound panels, which were bought from a company called GIK Acoustics, who are very good, very highly recommended. You can buy them with patterns. However, we were on a very, very tight schedule to make sure that these panels arrived in time for the new studio to be put in and the first live stream that I did. So we didn't order them with anything. I've left them blank. But you can actually get them in multiple colours, and you can actually order them and send them an image, and they will, I believe, print out that image, and you could have had that image on there. We didn't have time to do that at all. Do I want to put something on them? Not sure. Now, we have these panels not just on the walls, and they're not fixed yet because we don't know exactly where they're going to go. We've also got them on the ceiling. The ceiling ones are not going to be painted. They're white, and the reason why we want the white is so that the light can go up and can reflect downwards. But as for these ones, I am tempted to put something on them, but I don't know what. I mean, I wouldn't be sticking something on them because then that's going to, make them pointless. The idea is that the sound goes into these, and inside is like rock wool or fiberglass or something, and then the sound goes into them, and it completely absorbs the sound. So by me sticking like a photo of something on there, a picture of David Hasselhoff or something, then that's not going to work. The sound's just going to bounce off David and come back. So you can paint on them, but I don't quite know what I would paint on them. The next question from Ronald is, this is about Hamburg and Amsterdam, the first 2 games in the Stefan Feld City collection. Now, I have all 8 of the current deluxe versions of the games from the Stefan Feld City collection, but I have space issues. And I've been having to make more and more difficult decisions about which games to move into the attic, which basically means either I'm keeping them for nostalgia reasons, or they're never going to get played again and they'll probably get given away. And I looked at these 8 games that I had, and I went, I'm not going to play Hamburg and Amsterdam again. And I thought, I don't want to break up the collection. And it was, I mean, you know what I'm talking about, right? You're a gamer, you're a collector, you like things to be complete. And I've got games 1 to 8, and they're all there. And I'm considering getting rid of games number 1 and 2. And it really pained me to do so. So, yeah. Now, one of the reasons why I have decided I'm probably not going to play those games again is because I believe Cuzco, Marrakesh, New York City are great. And I can't see there ever being a time, with time being limited as much as it is, that I would ever want to play Hamburg and Amsterdam, even though I really did enjoy Bruges and Macau, that I wouldn't actually play them rather than playing, Marrakesh, Cuzco, etc., etc. But one of the reasons that I gave is that I didn't really like the artwork in the game. Personally, and Queen Games are a client of mine, and I have done paid work on them, but if you want my honest opinion, the style of artwork that was used in Hamburg and Amsterdam, it was not my favourite. And that's the polite way of saying it. I really didn't like the way that those games looked visually. Now, Ronald has asked the question, did I prefer the artwork from the prototype? And if you're interested in seeing what that looks like, I did a video on it. So when Hamburg was on Kickstarter, I did a video using a prototype copy of the game. And the artwork in that, I think, was actually worse. And I'll be honest with you here, and I might get into a little bit of trouble for saying this, but I am going to be honest. The artwork from the original version of Hamburg that I had the prototype of, I had a very open and honest discussion with Queen Games about it. And I said, this artwork is possibly the worst artwork that I have ever seen in a board game ever. It was awful, absolutely awful. And I didn't pull any punches. And I don't like going around criticizing things. I don't get a kick out of it. But my whole philosophy in life is that I want to make things better. I want to improve things. And if I've got a publisher who is creating a new version of a beloved Stefan Feld game, and this is going to be a deluxe game, and it's a client that I like and I get on with them well, and I think this artwork looks horrible, it can't just be me that thinks it looks horrible. And I told them outright, I think this is awful. So I think they did improve it. I think the artwork is better in the released version of the game. I'm still not keen on it. There you go. Right, next question from Marius. How does your gamer heart manage both Euro and Ameri style games? Personally, I'm a Euro gamer. Says he avoids Ameri trash like I avoid sitting there, stuck in the rulebook, wondering if my cursed row can open a door while on fire. Everything looks epic, but somehow you're just rolling dice or flipping a card, reading flavor text for 3 hours, only to move your miniature one space and then miss. Sure, maybe there's a dragon and 200 cards with dramatic names, but in the end, you're still just trying to roll a 6 so that you can open a chest and find another card. I absolutely get what you're saying. Now, for me, I have gone on a little bit of a, what's the word I'm looking for? An evolution of my preferences in gaming. So 20 years ago, I was a hardcore Euro gamer. If I saw a dice, I would, don't like dice, There's a very famous old BGG cartoon of a guy stood on stood high up on a chair like this, scared because there's like a mouse or a spider on the floor, and it's not, it's a dice. He's like, dice. That was me. That was where I was 20 years ago. I wanted my games as heavy and as Euro-y, no random element whatsoever. I've evolved, and I've my gaming tastes have changed over the years. And if you have seen some of the games that I've covered recently, although there is still a heavy Euro element in a lot of games that I play, I can, generally speaking, thoroughly enjoy something that isn't a Euro. I mean, the most recent example of that was the Pathfinder Adventure card games that we played on the Monday of my week off for my birthday. They are massive amounts of dice rolling. How does my gamer heart manage them? I'm happy to say, and I'm not going to say I love all games, because there are certain games that I don't enjoy, but I'm glad to see that I can thoroughly enjoy a really solid, well-designed, balanced Euro game with a minimal random element, and I can also thoroughly enjoy a game with a massive random element. The big factor in this is whether it's cooperative or not. So, for example, the Pathfinder Adventure card game, if that game came out with exactly the same mechanisms as a competitive game, I would not play it. I would not play it, and I would very likely burn it, not recommend it to my friends, and say how it's one of the worst games ever designed. The fact that it's a cooperative game completely changes my whole opinion on that. And that is also the same with something like Arkham Horror the card game. Arkham Horror the card game is very much not a Euro. I mean, it's got lots of story. Fine, that doesn't make it an Emery style game, but you decide to do something, you commit all of these cards, and then you draw a token out of the bag, and one of those tokens is auto fail. I know many, many Euro gamers who absolutely hate that game, and they can't understand why I love it. But the fact that it's a cooperative game and we're sharing that experience together, yeah, I'm fine with that. But yeah, I think that's the big difference for me, is my acceptance and tolerance for randomness in a game is very, very different if it's if it's cooperative, than whether it's competitive. Next question from Frank. Well, we've got 3 questions from Frank, so thank you very much, Frank, for these questions. First of all, I mentioned on Slack that I've lost 9 inches in my new studio. What happened? It's closer to 6. I think it's about 6 inches, but I'm a man. I like to exaggerate things, so let's not go there. So what happened is 2 things. It's this wall here, this wall behind me. On our original plans, this room that I'm in was 6 inches wider than it actually is. And the reason for that is, since we had the building plans done, building regulations have changed, which means the builders had to put in 2 extra layers, not 2 extra layers, extra thick layers of breeze blocks into the wall to meet current building regulations. Because of that, we lost about 2.5, maybe 3 inches. Okay, then the next problem, and this is all down to technicalities, but essentially most of this room here, most of this wall is built over our existing garage. The back half of the room, well, not the back half, the back sort of 10 feet of the room, which you can't see in that direction, that is new. We had an extension built at the bottom, extending our utility room, and then that part of the room was built on top of the new utility. So, ignore what I said about here. The new building regulations is for there, is for that part of the room. This was absolutely fine. However, what we then had is we had a wall that wasn't flat. So this side was absolutely fine, but that side stuck out by about 3 inches. So what the builders decided to do, and I really, really wish I'd have said something, is they basically filled this wall out by about 3 inches with wooden slats and extra insulation and everything else. So we've got extra insulation behind there, but if you drill into this wall, you have about 3 inches, maybe 4 inches of insulation before you even get to the breeze blocks. And that's where we lost a lot of space. And on the other wall, instead of, which there's one opposite me, instead of just sort of plastering the wall, they used dot and dab, they put wooden slats in, and we lost a couple of inches there. So the end result is we have a room that's about 6 inches shorter than what we originally had on the plans. Second question from Frank. Frank says, I'm always complaining about sound quality. Yep, I am. Other channels have better sound. Yep, this has been one of my frustrations. It's one of my frustrations for years, is that I have invested a huge amount of time, effort, and money into various sound solutions over the years. Going back many years, I used to have lapel mics on people. Then I've currently got an overhead mic, which is just outside of camera, and I'm hoping it sounds okay. And recently I've been experimenting with a new form of lapel mics, but I've been having all sorts of issues with them. And yeah, I'll admit it is frustrating, because I speak to a number of other channels and I say to them, oh, what are you using for a microphone system? And they went, oh, we just bought some cheap lapel mics. And I'm like, well, I bought cheap lapel mics and I'm having all sorts of problems with them. So it's been a frustration of mine for many years that my audio, when I listen back to it, doesn't sound as good as most other channels that I listen to and that I watch. And this isn't really anything to do with the size of those channels, but what I'm saying is there are some channels out there who do great content, and I watch them, and they might have like 6,000 or 7,000 subscribers. They're not a big channel. I enjoy their content, and I watch them and I listen to them, and their sound sounds great. And then you've got my channel that's apparently one of the bigger channels, and my sound sounds awful. So yeah, it's been a bit frustrating over the years. Hopefully right now this sounds quite good. Again, I've spent a lot of money on the sound absorption in this room. I've got a noise suppression filter on there. I've also got an equalization filter on there. Oh no, in fact, the equalization filter's turned off. That reminds me, Peter Rushton recommended that I tweak some things. As long as this is sounding good, that's great. The big problem that you have, and I don't want to go into too many technical details here, as soon as you have a second microphone in the room where there's other people over there and they need their own microphone, suddenly when you're getting picked up by two microphones, even though they're in sync, you get a lot of reverb. And that is just how microphones work. The time it takes for my sound to reach this microphone and the time it takes for my sound to reach that microphone, it's a slight offset. It's very tiny. But as soon as you get both of those together, even if the microphones are in sync, you get what sounds like reverb. Anyway, do I have a rough idea of what causes the audio problems? Yes. We've done our best to fix them. And thankfully, with a lot of people's help and a lot of time and effort, I think we've got the sound sounding right now quite good, I hope. Third question from Frank. He says, in one of my last posts, I mentioned that I like to, at some extent, have asymmetrical elements in games. In my opinion, what's the right mix of asymmetrical and symmetrical elements? Brackets, rules, starting resources, factions, and so on in board games. So Frank might be referring to things that I spoke about in the last live Q&A. I think it was the last live Q&A where I talked about asymmetry in games and how games like Root, potentially even Hegemony, and other games where the play, it's not just player powers, but players are playing potentially different games with different rule sets and different objectives. Asymmetric games like that are not generally for me, for a few reasons. First of all, I need to know what's going on everywhere. And if I'm playing a game and another person is like, well, I'm going to move my tank 7 spaces. And I'm like, well, I can only move my tanks 3 spaces. Ah, yeah. And when I do that, I'm going to, oh, right, okay. And basically the other player is playing such a different game that I don't understand what they're doing. And they might be playing the game wrong. And I don't know they're playing the game wrong because I've learned my faction. I know how my faction works. And suddenly they're playing it. And then they say, oh, I've won. Well, how have you managed to win? Well, I've got 10 squirrels spread out between the 10 different locations on the board. And that's a victory condition for me. Oh, is it? Oh, right. Okay. The mental overhead for me in asymmetric games, properly asymmetric games, it's too much for me. I don't like that in games. Frank is asking, what level do I like? So what I like is games such as Lost Ruins of Arnak. Let's say Lost Ruins of Arnak, where you have the leader powers. So with the first expansion for Lost Ruins of Arnak, they introduced leader powers. So 95% of the game is the same, but my character gets a discount of 1 whenever I'm buying things from the market. That's what I want. That level of asymmetry is good with me. I mean, I'm okay with a little bit more than that, but I don't want players to be playing different games with different rules. That's what I don't like. Next question from Kat. Kat says, this is the best question that I've been asked this month. I'm Australian. Please explain what the heck is a Jaffa cake. I'm just going to go and get a pack of Jaffa cakes. Oh, Vicky's going to go and get a packet. I will show you a pack of Jaffa cakes. So what is a Jaffa cake? This is just for Kat because she might be the only person watching this who doesn't know what a Jaffa cake is. A Jaffa cake is not, as most people think, a trademarked thing. Yeah, but just get me the box. So what is a Jaffa cake? Well, it is a circular, small, snack-like cake that comes... These are McVitie's Jaffa cakes. So McVitie's is a brand, but Jaffa, you will find other Jaffa cakes by other manufacturers. So Jaffa cake itself is not a brand name. It is what's inside. Now, inside here are my 3D printed Lord of the Rings stuff. So I can't actually eat one of those because that would probably be quite bad for me. But what they are, you can just Google them. They're circular, they're sponge, chocolate, and a bit of orange. That's generally speaking what they are. And it's kind of become a bit of a thing for the channel that I like Jaffa cakes. And I do have a Jaffa cake in my porridge every morning. Yeah, that instead of like a dollop of honey, I have my porridge every morning and I actually crumble up a Jaffa cake into it. That's what I do. It's the way I roll. Kat does have a proper question as well, which is, when was the last time you ordered and received anything from crowdfunding and did it meet your expectations or were you bitterly disappointed? Well, Kat, I am very fortunate that I don't actually buy many games these days. And I know a lot of you watching this video might be thinking, oh, I'm really jealous Paul gets sent all of these games for free and he doesn't have to buy them. This is my job. This is what I do. And getting sent games is a perk of that job. It doesn't stop my personal feelings on games when I get sent a massive crowdfunded game that's like $400 that contains 7 boxes filled with components that fills, you know, half a Kallax. And I go through it and I'm like, you've got a slot here in your very nice insert for cards and there's a finger hole next to it. And I'm putting my finger into the hole and I'm pulling out the cards and there are 3 cards still in the bottom. And I'm now going to have to fish and I can't get it in. And how am I get... Yeah, as we spoke about earlier on. So, I mean, we're talking very specific production issues here. In terms of, did it meet my expectations or was I bitterly disappointed? Well, I'll be absolutely honest with you here. Even games that I get sent for free, the fact that I get sent the game for free and the fact that I get paid to do coverage of those games doesn't affect my personal opinion of them. Now, if I was doing sponsored coverage of the game, I'm not going to say in that video, oh, and thanks very much to, you know, Publisher Y for sponsoring this video. By the way, I really didn't like this part about the game. I'm not going to do that in a sponsored video, but that's why I have my Slack channel. My Slack channel for my Patreon supporters is my safe zone where I can go to after I've played a game and I can tell people honestly what I like and what I don't like about it. Because I'm a gamer. I want to tell people these things, and having the Slack channel as part of my Patreon community is a great place for me to do that. But yeah, honestly, I can't really go into details here about a game that I was bitterly disappointed about receiving on crowdfunding because I didn't really... I'm not really in that position to spend a lot of money on a game, get it, and then be disappointed by it. Another proper question from Kat is, she's thinking about backing Puerto Rico. Now, this was 2 days ago that I got this question in. I believe that the Game Found campaign for Puerto Rico has now finished. But there is a solo mode. Do I know anything about this solo mode? I do not, but I do know that the people involved in designing the solo mode are very good people who just happen to be patron supporters of mine. John Albertson, I'm pretty sure John's involved in the solo mode of this game. He was involved in the solo mode for Castles of Burgundy, and I have every faith in John that he's done a very good solo mode for it. I will be covering the solo mode of Puerto Rico when the new version from Awakened Realms gets delivered, I can categorically say that I'm going to be doing that, whether or not Awakened Realms pay me to do it or not. I am going to be covering the solo mode of the new Puerto Rico. That's too late for you to make a decision now, but I will be covering it, and I have every confidence that it will be Paul friendly. And if it's not, then I will be inviting John to join me in the chat and run the bot, if there is a bot, so that I don't have to. Next question from James. What are some games from previous years that you still haven't played but you would like to? Now, this is a really good question. And my answer to it is about half an hour long. We don't have half an hour, so I'll try and be brief. James wants to know some games from previous years that I still haven't played, but I would like to. And the answer is none that I can think of. And the reason for that is, as I keep banging on about every time I do any kind of video, I just don't have time. I don't have enough time to cover all of the games that I own that I haven't covered yet, and all of the games that I do own that I really want to play again, but I haven't got time to. So I've had to, and I've only done this over the last sort of year or two, I've had to come just to accept the fact that every year there are great games that come out which I am not going to get a chance to play, and I'm okay with that. And honestly, that's not me trying to convince myself of it. A classic example is a game called Obsession. My Patreon supporters have spent the last 2 years telling me I really need to play Obsession because it's very, very good. And I have no doubt it is a very good game. And I have no doubt that I would enjoy it if I played it. But James is asking games that I haven't played that I would like to. Would I like to play Obsession? No. And me saying no to a game which I've just said I know is probably a very good game that I'd probably enjoy playing. Why am I saying no to? Why am I not wanting to play it? I'm not wanting to play it because I have enough games. I have enough games that I really enjoy. And right now, if I was free tonight and you said, Paul, I'm coming over and we're going to play Obsession, I'd be like, no, can we play this game instead? Because I know this game and I want to play this, and I don't want to put that game above the... I don't know if what I'm saying makes any sense. And it might be because I'm a content creator. It might be because this is my full-time job. I don't know, but I am really curious to see what you think. So again, if you're watching this video back afterwards and you are in the same position, let me know. Are there games that you know are very, very good games that have come out in the last few years that you actually don't want to play because you simply don't have the time to play them and you'd prefer to play some other games instead? That's my answer. So my answer is there are many, many, many games that I probably would like to play, but I'm actively making a choice to say no, I don't have time to do that. Next question from Bjorn. He's got a question about Dutch Resistance Orange Shall Overcome, which I've recently covered on Friday. How the morale track works is, in my opinion, extremely clever. That's my opinion as well, Bjorn. No stealing my opinions. That's my opinion. Is it a totally new mechanism or has something similar been used before? So let me explain how this works, because I did ask the designer during the live stream if that mechanism has been used before, and the designer Marcel said he hasn't seen it in another game before. So I'll explain to you how it works. Dutch Resistance Orange Shall Overcome is a cooperative game where each player will take their turn, and on their turn they perform 3 actions. So you will perform your 3 actions, then you will perform your 3 actions, and then I will perform my 3 actions. However, based on the current group morale, there are between 1 and 5 group actions available. So the higher the morale, the more group actions you have available. Now, that's not new and clever, I don't think, but what is new and clever is those group actions can be done by any player at any time. So here's the example. You're about to take your turn and you've got your 3 actions to do. And one of the actions that you want to do is to exchange information at the hairdressers in order to do something, but you don't have any information. But I do. I have information and I'm on the next space. So I'll tell you what, before you take your actions, I'm going to use one of the group actions, because you can use them on anybody's turn. I'm going to use one of the group actions to move to your location, give you the information. Right, now you can have your actions. So you do your 2 actions, and then suddenly, just before you're about to do your 3rd action, you think, oh, well, wait a minute. I need to do this. So the other player says, well, I'll tell you what, I'll jump in and I'll use 2 of the group action. It's brilliant, and it works really, really well. I've not seen it before in another game, and if you have seen it, I'm curious to see what game it's been used in. So not specifically that, but group actions which can be taken by any of the players at any time, even when it's not your turn. So I'm not talking about, and I think Blackstone Fortress uses this, there is a group pool of dice that on a player's turn, they can use one of the group dice. I'm talking about other players being able to do group actions when it's somebody else's turn. And that's what makes the game, one of the things that makes the game great. Right, next question from Andy Pelton. This is following on from the previous question about the terms Euro and Ameri. Are those still valid terms to describe games? This is a hot potato of a topic, and I occasionally see this on various Discord servers, Reddit, Facebook groups, whatever. There is a lot of people, and some people watching this video right now will be saying those terms are absolutely useless and outdated and people should stop using them. I don't agree. I personally still use them because for me, games at one extreme are Euro games. Absolutely pure mechanical Euro games, no randomness, no, everything's deterministic, dry cube pushing Euros. And then at the other end of the scale, you have the Ameri style game, which is a really ironic name because a lot of the very, very original Games Workshop games, which were British, were what's now called Ameri style, which is, generally speaking, quite random, player conflict, all of that sort of things. And to give you some games which are very much at the extremes, Hansa Teutonica. Yeah, Hansa Teutonica, completely dry, boring Euro. Now, it's an amazing game, right? Concordia, absolutely 100% Euro. Absolutely, right there at the scale. At the other end of the scale, oh gosh, let's say something like, I'm trying to think of a game that is like right at the other end of the scale. I'm going to pick one that I've never played, Betrayal at the House on the Hill. So let's go other end of the scale, Betrayal at the House on the Hill. Now, the reason why I think a lot of people think that those terms are useless is because most games these days are a hybrid. Most games are a hybrid, and therefore if most games are a hybrid, what's the point in using them? I still like to use them because in my mind, I know where something is on that scale. I know games that are here on the scale, which are most of the Euros that I cover on the channel, and I know when games are down here. The Pathfinder Adventure card game is right down here. It's really down here. It's like random card draw, random dice rolling, random this, random that. Yeah. So I still use those terms. I think those terms are useful for me to help me define a game. But that's only if people are using those terms in the same way that I'm using those terms. Okay, so if somebody comes to me and says it's an absolute pure Euro game, I know what they're talking about. And if they come to me and they say it's an absolutely pure Ameri style game, I know what they're talking about. So yeah, for me, those terms are useful. Next question from Ray. This is similar to James's question. Ray says, at the beginning of this year, I discovered the BGG challenges for 2025. Because of this, she has been trying to play through games that she owns and reduce the number of her unplayed games. It has changed the way that she picks games and has now played a wider range than before, which is cool. And I'm glad that the BGG challenges has encouraged you to do that, as long as you feel that that's been a positive thing. Questions for me. 1, what game do you most want to play that you own and you really want to play it, but I struggle to find time? The answer to that one is a really easy, because about a week ago or 2 weeks ago, I made a post on my Patreon supporters Slack channel of exactly this. There is one game that I have in my collection, which I will be honest with you, the feelings that I'm having about that game are frustration. That is a negative emotion. And over the last 2 months, my frustration about this game has been increasing gradually. And the frustration is because I want to play this game and I don't have time to play this game. And you might just think, well, just make time, Paul. Take another half a day off work. Yeah, I can't do that. I'm busy. But even if I did, this game is very complex. And it would take me at least a day, probably, 5, 6, 7 hours to actually properly relearn the game, play a practice game, get half of the rules wrong, go back to the rulebook, read the rulebook again, learn how to play it again, watch somebody else's video on it, read the rules reference guide, play it again, and then I'd be able to start enjoying it. And the game is Stalker from Awakened Realms. And I've covered this on the channel. I have done a sponsored playthrough of Stalker on the channel. And the reason why it's become frustrating is because I think, and I can't guarantee this for sure, but I think Stalker might be a really, really, really good game. I liked what I saw about it, despite that it had a merry style elements, and I really want to play it more. And the reason why it's frustrating is because I just simply don't have the time, the mental capacity to get back into it as much as is needed in order to fully appreciate the game. So there you go. That is a game that I most want to play, that I currently own, but I struggle to find time. Right. Next question, also from Ray. What game do you most want to play that you do not own? Well, following on from what James said earlier on, you might think my answer to this is nothing, because if I don't own the game, I am managing to suppress my desires to play the game. However, there is one game which I really want to play, which I do not own, and that is War of the Ring. And that is because I currently do not own it. I used to own it, but because I have the 20th anniversary edition arriving in the next few months, I got rid of my copy of the game to Chris. Chris now has my copy of the game. I currently do not own War of the Ring, but in a couple of months' time, I will be the proud owner of the 20th anniversary edition of War of the Ring. Slightly cheating there, but that's my answer. Next question from Ray. What is your unplayed game that has been on your shelf for the longest? Now, I made a mental note while I was sat in the car park to go into the attic and get this game to show you. And I didn't. And I'm not going to go and do it now, because that would be silly. In the middle of a live stream, do you want me to stop the live stream? Well, not stop it, but take it. No, you won't know. You won't know what you're looking for. Do you want me to do it? Do you want me to go into the attic and try and find this game? I may be about a minute. Let me know if you want me to do it. But there is a game which has been on my shelf the longest, which I haven't played, and it's in the attic. Okay, we'll see what people say. I'll answer your next question. Ray says, as part of this, I played Photosynthesis, which has been on her shelf and has turned out to be an unexpected gem. This is brilliant. So this BGG challenge that Ray did has made her play Photosynthesis because it's been on her shelf for a long time, and it turns out that it's an unexpected gem and she absolutely loves it. So Ray's question to me is there an older game that I've played this year which I would consider a hidden, an unexpected gem? So what I did is I have been through, because I log all of my plays on BGG. So what I've done is I have been through every single game that I've played this year, and I have looked through them to find one which I would class as an unexpected gem. And as I was looking down the list, I was like, first of all, most of the games that I've played this year are relatively new games. And I was like, none of these are going to qualify. And then I found a game which is quite an older game, and I'm like, Puerto Rico, is that an unexpected hidden gem? I'm like, no, right? And then I got to one. Now, technically, this is a new game because they did a new version of it last year. But actually, this is a much older game. And this is a game called League of Six. League of Six originally came out 2007. 2007, designed by Vladimir Suchy, famous for Underwater Cities and, loads of other games that he's done. This, I think, is his first published game. I think the game's amazing. I have always enjoyed League of Six. I think it's an underrated game that I think is absolutely fantastic. And last year, another publisher republished League of Six. So that is my recommendation. Although technically it's not an older game because it was republished last year, but that is what I would class as a hidden gem. So Vicky's gone and got the ladders down from the attic. I guess that means everybody wants me to go into the attic and get this game. Okay, give me a minute. If you need to pop out for a glass of water, do so. I will step away for... Oh, I'll put the duck in the way. There you go. Can you see him? Is he on camera? Yeah, he's on camera. Right, I'll be back in a minute. I don't even know where it is. Right. Okay, I'm back. So there's actually two games that I was thinking about. One of them I've managed to find. The other one I haven't found. So I'm going to show you the one that I found first. This is Valley of the Four Winds. This is from 1980, published by Games Workshop. I don't quite know how I got this game. I think I acquired it at some point in the 80s or maybe early 90s when a friend of mine was perhaps having a clear out, and I don't even think it's complete. It's in such bad condition. I mean, this is how games were. I mean, I've just got to show you this. I mean, this is how games were in 1980. Yeah, you can check out the quality of these components. These are half-inch thick, half-inch, and it's just flimsy. And yeah, it's terrible. But anyway, I've never played it. I don't even know where I got it from. I mean, check out the game board. Actually, I'm quite excited about that, looking at that. But anyway, this is not the game that I was thinking about. The game that I was thinking about is a game called Freedom in the Galaxy. And then it's got some dates after it. It came out in 1977. I think I managed to get it at the same time as this. And I have a copy, and it's been in the attic. And it's been in my collection for 20, 25 years or something like that. Now, Freedom in the Galaxy, if you want to look it up on Board Game Geek, it is something a little bit special. It was clearly inspired by Star Wars, but the reason why it's a bit special is if you look it up on Board Game Geek right now and have a look at one of the designers. The designer is John Butterfield. Now, that name might be familiar to you because John Butterfield is still designing games now. And a lot of you may have heard of a game called Space Corp 2025 to 2300, which is getting a digital version soon. And I have a video coming next week showing the digital version of Space Corp designed by John Butterfield. And he's currently designing other games as well. And he designed this game from like 1980 or 1977 or something like that. So yes, it's in there. I do have a copy of Gumshoe as well. Yeah, no, it's not Gumshoe. And technically I have played Gumshoe. I tried playing Gumshoe once I think it was 1986, maybe 1986, 1987. I tried playing Gumshoe at that time, whereas these other games, this one and Freedom of the Galaxy, never played it. Anyway, there you go. Where are we next? Emmy, not a board game related question, and this definitely hasn't been answered in previous Q&As, but Emmy has said, I mentioned that occasionally I go to the gym. What do I enjoy most about going to the gym, if anything? So I'll be honest with you here. The best bit about going to the gym is the fact that I've gone to the gym. And the reason for that is I had been being told by medical professionals for about 10 years that I needed to start going to the gym, or I needed to start doing exercises for both my physical health and my mental health. And I spent 10 years ignoring them. And you might just think, oh, well, Paul's been told by the doctors he should go to the gym because otherwise this, and this. Yeah, it's not that easy sometimes when you, So literally the best thing about going to the gym is that every time I come back from the gym, I am proud that I've been to the gym. And that's it. And I know that it can't be doing any harm. I'm hoping it's doing good. But even if it's not doing good, it's not doing any harm. And I feel better about the fact that I've been. One of the best things that I do enjoy about going to the gym is the fact that that is 30 minutes of me time where I can't get distracted by a million things at home, which means I get to either, watch some things on YouTube or I get to listen to my audiobooks. That's my 30 minutes of time where I actually get to listen to audiobooks, because I have so little time to watch things on TV or listen to any audiobooks at home. So yeah, that's that. Next question from Eon. Is there any game experience which you feel isn't being supplied at the moment? This is a fantastic, interesting question. A game experience which I feel isn't being supplied at the moment. So he goes on to explain, says, I feel that there really isn't a great XCOM game where there is both a layer of tactical squad-based combat and then a strategic layer of tech and staff development. Aeon Trespass kind of comes closest, but that's really more of a boss battle in an arena. So yeah, I mean, there is an XCOM board game, but it's not what you're saying. I think one of the things that's great about the hobby is that we've actually been having so many different styles of games in the last 4 or 5 years that have scratched a number of itches. So we've got narrative-driven, story-based campaign games such as Tainted Grail and ISS Vanguard. We've got Mythwind, which is such an off-the-wall concept of a game where you're just like, yeah, you're just a farmer and you can play the game forever. And there's no bad guys and you're not on a time limit and you just keep planting your crops and growing them and farming cows. But what's the point of the game? Well, there isn't. You just play it and you just enjoy it. Right? We've got that now exists in a game. We've got all sorts of other different styles of games. We've got massive long campaign games such as Aeon Trespass Odyssey. We played Act 1, is it Cycle 1, whatever, of Aeon Trespass Odyssey. It took us about 80 hours, and that was one of 5. You've got your Gloomhavens and your Frosthavens. You've got huge, massive campaign games. But there is still room for more games. And in fact, the one that you mentioned, Ian, about this XCOM game where you're literally playing, a squad-based tactical combat, but then in between games, you're leveling up your characters, getting better equipment and all sorts of stuff like that. Yeah, I mean, the folder system from ISS Vanguard, I want to see more games like that. I want to see more campaign games that use the folder system where you slot in cards. And I've had ideas for 2 of them myself. Ask me on Slack, maybe next week when I've got a bit more time, but I've had ideas for 2 games which would be absolutely massive and epic, and it would be this, campaign game, but with ways to level things up in between games. There's always room for more ideas, but yeah, the XCOM one sounds like a great idea. Next question from Andy. BGG has more than 2,000 games in the video game themed category. Okay, so Andy is asking, what are my top 5 games that are video games to board game conversions? I'm not sure at this stage I'm going to be able to come up with my top 5. Frostpunk is amazing. Frostpunk is a fantastic video game to board game conversion. I have recently played Slay the Spire, which is also very, very good. Can people in the chat remind me of video game to board game conversions which I have played, which you know I have played? Because I'm struggling to think of any at the moment. What are my top 5 games that are set in the world of a video game but have their own mechanisms more suited to a board game? Oh, I don't know. I don't know of any. Well, I mean, yeah, the lines are blurred between those two questions, because Frostpunk is a game that's set in the world of a video game, but it has its own mechanisms more suited to a board game. But actually, it's the same thing. I see what you mean by there. If there was a Frostpunk board game that isn't actually following the computer game, that is kind of just set in the world of, I don't know whether there are any like that. Don't Starve. Yes, very good point. Don't Starve, which is coming soon. I've loved it. And bearing in mind, I am Glass Cannon Unplugged are one of my clients, and I am going to be doing sponsored coverage for Don't Starve, but I have loved everything that I've seen about the Don't Starve game, and I have played it. I've played it a number of times. I haven't played the latest iteration of it, but apparently it's better. So yeah, the Don't Starve board game, which is going to be coming to crowdfunding at some point in the next 4 weeks, I believe, and I will be doing a video on it at the end of this month. It is fantastic. Dwarf Romantic. Yeah, Dwarf Romantic's good. We played that. We enjoyed that. That is good. What else have we got? Stalker, of course. I talked about Stalker. I don't know where Stalker, as I mentioned earlier on, I haven't played Stalker enough yet. I might play Stalker 5 or 6 times and then might not like it. I don't know. I'm curious about Stalker, which is why I want to play it more. Elder Scrolls Betrayal of the Second Era. How could I forget about that one? Okay, Elder Scrolls Betrayal of the Second Era is one of my favourite games of all time, and it is amazing. Okay. Anno 1303. Well, there's Anno 1800. Now, Anno 1800 is interesting. It's a brilliant game. Okay, so there's loads. I don't know about my top 5, but there's certainly 5. Stardew Valley I've not played. Gwent, I wouldn't class Gwent. I mean, well, Gwent is a really interesting one, because Gwent is actually just a direct copy of the card game that's included within Witcher 3. So yeah, Slay the Spire. Skyrim I've not played, but I've heard things about it that make me not want to play it. So yeah, Anno 1800, Frostpunk, Slay the Spire, Dwarf Romantic, Elder Scrolls Betrayal of the Second Era, and Don't Starve. There you go. That's not 5, and I've not put them in any order. What's the worst video game to board game conversion that you've played or demoed? Oh, well, yeah, I don't know. I mean, all of the ones that I think I've played are good. I can't think of a video game to board game conversion that I've played that I didn't enjoy. I've not played Fallout. I've not played what was the other one that people mentioned earlier on? Let's scroll up. Yeah, I've not played Skyrim. So yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I can't think of a video game to board game conversion that I've played that hasn't been good. Right. Final question from Andy is, should Project L have the video game theme category applied to it? My answer to that is no. I mean, it looks like Tetris, but it's not. It's not like this. Not in my throat. That's the problem with getting hungry just before a live stream and throwing a handful of nuts down you. Yeah, I don't think Project L should have the video theme category applied to it. I don't think so. Right. Final question from Stuart. And I'm only allowing this question because I know Stuart, because it came in just after I said, no more questions, please. Stuart says, do I keep track of how many appearances each of your table guests have made on your channel? Is there a league table? No, I don't. Well, I do keep track because anybody who is a guest on my channel for a sponsored stream earns gaming rules points. And then at certain points in the year, they get to cash in those points in exchange for games or vouchers to buy games with. So in effect, I pay my guests to be on the channel with me. And I do that because it's morally the right thing to do. If I'm getting paid to do a multiplayer playthrough of a game, and I can't do that multiplayer game without people to be the other players, I feel it is morally the right thing to do to at least pay them something to be on the channel. Now, every single one of them has said, we don't want paying for this. They've all said, we just come around because we want to play games. But I still feel that it's the right thing to do. So I do. And to give you a rough idea, I think last year it was about £2,000. It was something like £2,000 in total to pay all of the guests for the various videos that they've been on. Not £2,000 each in total. But anyway, that's it. That's all of the questions that I've been asked in advance. So, have we been an hour and a half? Oh, seriously? Oh, wow. Okay, really sorry. I didn't realise we'd been an hour and a half. So, what I'm going to do is I'm going to say, no more questions, please, for this week, because it's already an hour and a half in, and we haven't even gone to the live questions yet. Oh, my. Oh, my. Right, we're going to be here a while. I will try to do quick fire. But before we go into the live questions, I wanted to just say the contest for this month. So each month, as part of these live Q&As, I do a giveaway. The winner of last month's live Q&A is Matthew Egan. So congratulations, Matthew. I will contact you. You've won £50 worth of games vouchers from Games Law, which you can buy games with. I think Matthew is over in the States, but you can still buy them. You can still exchange the vouchers. You can still buy the games and hopefully get something that's worth it with the shipping. So this month, what I'm going to do is I'm going to do something a little bit special for this month, because as of this morning, I am celebrating reaching the milestone of 1,200 paying patron supporters, which is phenomenal. So a huge thank you to everybody who supports me on Patreon. I did mention in my latest video log, which if you haven't watched it, I would strongly recommend going and watching my latest video log, because I talk about what I will do if I manage to reach 1,200 Patreon supporters, which is to take a week off in December and play more games. So yeah, like I do each year in July, if I manage to maintain 1,200 Patreon supporters, because Patreon support goes up and down, and I don't want the 10 people that joined me this month to now leave because we've made 1,200. If we manage to maintain 1,200 Patreon supporters, then I will guarantee that what I'm going to do is I'm going to take another week off the paid work in December each year, and I'm going to do live streams all day, every day. But the games are going to be decided mostly by my Patreon supporters. So that's already now in my diary. The first week in December this year, if we manage to maintain 1,200 Patreon supporters, I'll do that. I'll take another week off work and I will live stream games to you. And if you're confused by saying, well, isn't that what you do normally anyway? The big difference is I try to balance my work 50-50, so that 50% of the video content I create is sponsored by publishers and 50% is not, roughly speaking. But that week in December, none of it will be paid for. So it is technically a week off work because I won't be paid for any of that. But it's something that I want to do. And it helps me cover more games on the channel. And it's more fun. So yeah, big thank you to all of my Patreon supporters. And you're the ones that are going to be voting on what games I'm going to be playing in that week in December. But in order to celebrate making 1,200 Patreon supporters, I'm going to say that this month's contest is actually £75 of games vouchers. So I'm going to put in £50 of my own money. Games Law are putting in the other £25. Whoever wins the giveaway for this month is actually going to get £75 worth of game vouchers. Now, what I could say is that I could set a new Patreon goal and say, oh, if we reach, whatever number of supporters, I'll make it £75 every month. Or we could even make it £100 a month. I don't know. I haven't thought about that. I just felt that I wanted to celebrate by giving something back other than a week of streams. So somebody this month, and the draw will be done in the middle of September. Yep, September, is going to win £75 worth of games vouchers from Games Law. All you need to do to enter the giveaway is click on the link, which is going to appear in the chat right now, and it's also in the description of this video. The description of this video, it might not have it right now, but it will be in there in a few minutes' time. The description of this video contains a link to a Google form. That Google form should be open, and you need to enter your name, your email address, because I will need to contact you, and you need to tell me what the secret word is. And the secret word this month is the game that arrived this afternoon that none of my Patreon supporters were able to guess. Now, this is very exciting. And some of you will have never heard of this game, but I'm going to show it you. And this is the word that you need to put into the contest to stand a chance of winning. And if you are one of my Patreon supporters, you do have more chance of winning because you get double entries. This is a production copy of Deckers. This is coming out at Essen Spiel later this year. It is published by Deep Print Games and also Pegasus Spiel, and it is designed by Richard Wilkins. Richard Wilkins is a friend of mine, otherwise known as Ricky Royal, otherwise known as Box of Delights. Many of you, especially Mage Knight fans, will know Ricky because he did the solo playthroughs of Mage Knight, which helped make Mage Knight what it is today. He's a solo gamer primarily. He's also a games designer. And this is a game that he's designed. Originally known as Renegade, he has been struggling for about 5 years to get this game published. And finally, properly, this year, it has been picked up by Deep Print Games, and it is coming out later this year. I am very, very excited about this. I'm very excited for Ricky, but I'm excited because I'm going to be covering this on the channel. And yeah, it's going to be great. So that is what you need to put in. You need to put Deckers. That is the secret word for this month. Right, live questions. Quick fire questions. Here we go. No more than 30 seconds per question. No chance. Absolutely no chance. Right, Rafa, I'm planning to learn Star Trek Captain's Chair. Would you recommend your solo training mode video as the best place to start? Yes. Can I just play a few games in that mode to get the hang of it? Yes, I learn best from watching videos. Yes, absolutely. However, my solo cadet mode for Captain's Chair is the best video to watch to learn how to play the game. But there is one major rule that I completely forgot to mention in that video, which is you only score points for your tracks if you have completed at least one of your missions. I completely forgot to mention that. And if you're playing on the basic side of the board, you have one mission to do. If you don't do that mission, your tracks will not score you anything. So you always must really try and do one mission. Otherwise, yeah, you won't score many points. Right. Next question from Rafa. With so many new games coming out, is storage becoming a problem? Yes. Welcome to my life. Do you think the slowdown in sales is due to space limits? And how do you decide which games to keep? Okay, so when you say the slowdown in sales due to space limits, the slowdown... Oh, hang on. The contest form is locked. Is it? Oh, have I sent you the wrong contest form? Okay, let me just fix that. I might have sent you the wrong link. Sorry. This is the problem with doing this at last minute. Right. The giveaway for August is settings, responses. Okay. I'm going to have to make my screen a bit wider. Published. Responses. No responses. Accepting responses. I think I might have given you the wrong link. I might have given you the link to last month. So I'm going to update the document now. No? Right, I'm just going to put a new link below the old one and see if it's any different. It's different. Okay, so apologies. It looks like it's the old link. If you try the new one, let me know if that works. No, not working. Well, it's here. It says accepting responses. Yes. You need access. Oh, sorry. It's the access to the document. Stupid forms. Right. Now it should work. We're just going to check this. That's the good thing with live streams. We can fix it. The second one. Try the second one. Has anybody else tried it yet? We're just going to check that this works. I'll answer another question, and then we'll come back to the thing. Okay, so with so many games out, is storage becoming a problem? Yes, storage has been becoming a problem for the last year or two. But you say, do I think the slowdown in sales is due to space limits? That doesn't really apply to me, because I'm not really buying less games. I'm buying almost no games. It's games that I'm being sent by publishers. What I am actively doing is I am actively refusing publishers who want to send me review copies of games. Any publisher that contacts me and says, "Hi Paul, we'd like to send you a copy of our game for review," I say no. If I've reached out to them and said, "I'd love a copy of this game," then fine. But if they reach out to me, my default answer is no, because I simply don't have time to cover it. Okay. And how do I decide which games to keep? It's getting harder and harder. And for the last year, I have been getting rid of good games. Any game which isn't good straight away goes on the sell pile. Games have got to be exceptional these days for me to keep them. They have to be like 8 out of 10, very, very good for me to keep them. Even a game which I'll play 4 or 5 times and really enjoy is not good enough to keep these days. Right, okay, the link is now working. Excellent, thank you very much. Contest is sorted. Next question from Karen. As somebody mentioned on Facebook, some questions are coming back all the time. Not that it bothers me. Have you ever considered making an FAQ such as Rado to address the most boring frequent questions? I have exactly that. I have a gaming rules FAQ, which is, I'm just Googling gaming rules FAQ, and there is a gaming rules / Paul Grogan FAQ there. It's the third hit. It's on Board Game Geek, and it's a geek list. And what I'll do is I will put that, can I put it in the chat? Well, I'll tell you what, I'll just put it in, and Vicky can put it in the chat. There you go. I've done it. I have done an FAQ, which is on Board Game Geek. And the idea of that was to address some of the similar questions that I keep getting asked. I haven't updated it for a while. If you feel that there is anything which I have been asked a lot, which should be in there, let me know. I can easily add to it. Next question from AS Faith. Is there a game you taught that you absolutely hated? Yes, I'm sure there is. There is at least, I think, one game a year where I got paid to do a video on it, that as soon as I'd played the game, and yeah, I had to learn it, I had to practice it, I had to play it, I then had to teach other people, I had to do a live stream, I then got paid for doing it, and I really, really didn't like the game at all. That happens on average about once a year. I'm not going to say what the game is right here, right now, because this is a public stream. I will share that information in private with my Patreon supporters if they really want to know. Because some of those games are from clients who are still clients of mine, and they might not be happy for me publicly saying that I absolutely hated a game that they paid me to do a video for. But yes, there are ones like that. And that's one of the small downsides of this job. Most of the time, this job is I get to play great games. And if I looked at most of the videos that I've done this year, great game, great game, great game, great game. And then every so often there's one that I'm like, oh God, none of us like this. But we still did it. And my job is to help you make a decision about whether that is the kind of game that you like. And if you watched that and you went, oh, that game looks fun, and you went and bought it and you enjoyed it, great, I'm happy for you. If you watched it and thought, yeah, I don't like the look of that game, then again, my job is done. Right, next question from Marco. Mage Knight Apocalypse Dragon. Any news that you can share about a possible demo or the release date? There is not. I have news. I am not allowed to share that news. I am under effectively an NDA. I'll be honest with you, I don't have an NDA because I've worked with WizKids for so many years and I get on with them really well that I do not have a signed NDA. But I just don't, when they say don't tell anybody anything, well, they don't say don't tell anybody anything. They say, Paul, here's the rough date. can you pencil this date into your calendar? But we haven't announced it yet, so don't let anybody know. That's exactly what has happened. I have a date in my diary booked for Mage Knight Apocalypse Dragon, where Phil Pettifer, the designer of the expansion, is coming here, and we're going to be doing a live stream, but I can't share the date with you yet because it hasn't been announced when the game's going to be available. Next question from Gavin. Any chance you'll come to Tabletop Scotland one year? What do I think of the upcoming player versus player Marvel Champions expansion? So 2 questions there. Tabletop Scotland, I did get invited a couple of years ago. The problem is it's distance. It really is distance. And I'm saying that as somebody who goes to Essen every year, but Essen is special. Essen is a very, very special event for me, and I've been going for 26 years. Tabletop Scotland, I know friends that go, I know patron supporters that go, and I'm sure it is an excellent event, but it takes me an entire day to get there, then it's 3 days there, and an entire day to get back. That's 5 days away from home, and it's 5 days off work. It's effectively a holiday. And I just can't find a 5-day slot where I can be, afford, not financially, but afford time-wise to be away for 5 days. Vicky's never been to Scotland. I have. I've been to Hadrian's Wall. We were going to climb Ben Nevis, but it was too hard, so didn't bother. Oh, you mean you want to go to... Yeah, but you'd be sat in a fish and chip shop in Scotland eating battered haggis while I play games for 3 days. Okay, so we'll be at Tabletop Scotland next year with Vicky on holiday in a campsite while I go and play games. What do I think about the upcoming player versus player Marvel Champions expansion? I'd forgotten it existed. I have mixed feelings about it because I think Marvel Champions is a fantastic, fantastic game. I will get it. I will cover it. But I don't know how I feel about it. Next question from 1701 Shami. Have you ever done a live stream that's gone badly wrong, but you have to live with it? Yes, many of them. Yeah, for various reasons, be it a technical reason. I remember there was one stream that I did many years ago now with Jeremy Howard from Man vs. Meeple. And hello, Jeremy, if you are watching this video. We did a remote playthrough during lockdown of Too Many Bones. And I was using my old streaming software. I used to use a different piece of streaming software called XSplit. I do not recommend XSplit at all. It was massively resource intensive. And to communicate with Jeremy on the live stream while we were playing, I was using Skype. Skype was massively resource intensive. And basically, this actually happened for quite a while. I had a number of streams where my computer just could not cope with it. And I had months and months where XSplit was just crashing on me. You're bringing back bad memories now. But there was one live stream I did, and it is still on the channel. Me and Jeremy playing Too Many Bones remotely, and the stream was crashing. And literally every 30 minutes, the stream would crash, and my software would crash, and people would be in the chat saying, the stream's gone down, and I would have to get it back, and I'd have to reboot my computer and everything else. And I have to say, Jeremy is a great person, and Jeremy's calm demeanor was the only way that I got through that stream, because he was like, yeah, whatever, it doesn't matter. I'm there going, oh my God, this is the worst thing that's happening ever. My channel's over. I'm going to give it all up. This is terrible. I can't deal with this. And Jeremy's like, it's just a game. People are fine. Don't worry about it. It's all good. I was like, yeah, okay. So that was a stream that went very badly. It also went very badly because I decided to play Lab Rats. Now, Too Many Bones, for those of you that don't know, is a very, very complex game where I really struggled to understand how half of the game works. And the Lab Rats are very, very complicated gearlocks to play. So not only were we having all of the technical issues with the stream crashing constantly, I had no idea what I was doing. It was one of my least enjoyable playthroughs. It was amazing because Jeremy was there, and Jeremy is a great person. But as far as playthroughs that I enjoyed, it was a horrible, horrible experience. Now, Too Many Bones is a good game, but me being so far out of my comfort zone that I literally cannot understand how to play the characters that I'm playing whilst hosting a live stream, Yeah, I don't want to do that again. That was horrible. Next question from Aidan. How do you find full board gaming last January, even though it's ages away? What kind of games will you be looking forward to playing? So full board gaming is hosted by a friend of ours. Apart from the fact that the room was sweltering hot and I was almost fainting, I enjoyed full board gaming. It is a small convention. It's run in a hotel in Torquay. It is a residential convention. What that means is you don't buy a ticket to go to the event. You stay at the hotel and you book a place at the hotel, and it's full board. So you get breakfast provided, you get your evening meal provided. The food is really good quality. Vicky comes with me because it's at the end of January, so it's perfect for her because she's had the busiest month at work. There's a spa on site, there's a swimming pool, there's all of those things, and I get to play games. And it's only an hour away, so it's far enough away that we wouldn't come back home every night, and it feels like a bit of a holiday. The hotel is quite dated, the rooms are quite dated, and the venue itself is quite dated. But other than that, I enjoy going because I enjoy seeing some of the people there. I currently do not have any thoughts about what games that I will want to play there. It's a bit too early for that. We'll have to wait till just after Essen. Next question from Leona. Have I played Dragon Eclipse? If so, what did I think about the game? I haven't. I was actually interested in covering Dragon Eclipse, but there was no way that I was going to be able to fit it into my schedule. So I haven't played it. I was interested in it, but based on some of the other things that I've said earlier on, I think Dragon Eclipse might just be in that category of I'm going to move this into the I'm going to try and forget about this game because I've got too many other games that I want to play. Next question from the Sweeples. How often do you paint minis, and are you motivated to consistently improve? What, if any, YouTube channels do you find helpful? So how often do I paint minis? It ebbs and flows. I've been through phases where I was painting for like 3 hours a night, every night for 2 weeks. Well, not every night because I'm streaming a lot of the time, but I will go through phases where I am literally painting, 15 hours a week sometimes, because it'll be a Formula One weekend and then we'll watch a film or we got something on, and I really intensely paint. And then there are other times, like the last 4 weeks, where I think I've picked up a brush once for about 30 minutes. So yeah, at the moment, I'm on a bit of a dip. All the painting stuff is downstairs. And the reason why is that I've spent every spare moment I can in the new studio still working things out. There's still a lot of stuff to do for the new studio. So yeah, I go through phases. Am I constantly trying to improve? Yes. What channels do I watch, if any? Well, there's a few. Sir Astro is one of them. Brushwood Minis is another one. And if you are a painter and you are not subscribed to Brushwood Minis, subscribe to Brushwood Minis. Chris is a great guy. It's a fairly small channel, but he's got some really, really good videos on there. Other than that, there are some of the bigger channels that I do watch now and again. It's mainly what pops up on my YouTube feed. I tell you what, I watched a video this morning while I was sat in a car park, which is, and it started off as a YouTube short. It was just a YouTube short that flashed up. Now, I hate YouTube shorts and I just get rid of them. And the reason why is most of the YouTube shorts that pop up on my feed are stuff that I'm not interested in at all. And this morning, one of the shorts that popped up on my YouTube feed was a guy painting a Space Marine, and it looked fantastic. And he was using this method that made me watch the video 3 times. And I'm like, oh, wow, that looks amazing. I've now found that channel, and I think I've subscribed to that channel, and I'll go back and watch some more of it. So yeah, I just find there's plenty of painting channels out there. You just need to Google painting Space Marines or something like that, or anything. You'll find loads and loads of channels. Follow-up question to painting. Do you have a workstation all ready to paint? Yes, it's a lap tray. You know those lap trays that you buy so that you can eat your meal while sat at the table or sat on a chair? That's what I use for painting, because my painting time is TV time. I never just watch TV because I would fall asleep. And I never just paint because I don't have the time to paint unless I'm doing something else at the same time. So TV time is either putting games away time or painting time. And yeah, so I basically have this mobile paint station, which is a lap tray, and I've got all of my stuff there, and I put the lap tray on and I get all of my stuff out. Next question from Ulrich. Can you add audio hardware and editing software used for the camera description that you said I would update. Yep, absolutely. So my list on Board Game Geek, where I list all of the different hardware that I've got, Ulrich wants me to add the hardware, the audio hardware, and the editing software that I currently use. Yep, I can do that. I'll do that later on tonight. The YouTube channel short that I've just talked about, I can't remember. Yeah, I'd have to go and look it up, but ping me a reminder later on Slack. The video that I watched is, he got this Space Marine. It was already painted white. It had already been undercoated in white. He painted it over with like a black oil. Now, I've heard about oil painting on miniatures before, and I've never really gone into it, but it's an alternative way to get a dirty, grimy look instead of like Nuln Oil. So it's an actual oil-based paint, and he went over the whole miniature with this oil. And then as it was drying, he kind of started to brush it off with the sponge, which meant the highlighted areas were all white. The black oil was in all of the cracks. Every single crack was black, and a lot of it was still dirty. Then he went over it with like a blue contrast, and then he kind of, and then it looked fantastic. Anyway, I'll try and find it later on, but what's the chance of finding a YouTube short again? I don't know. Next question from Malachite. Why do you think Monopoly is so popular and well known when most people talk about it and play board games say it's a bad and rubbish game? It's very, very simple. Is people gravitate to what they know. And the same is true with board game content creation channels. It's exactly the same. So there are other channels out there who do tutorial videos like I do. And Rodney Smith from Watch It Played is amazing. He is the best person at creating how to play videos. I'd like to think that I'm the second best person at creating how to play videos. And if I'm second best to Rodney, then that's good for me. But one of the challenges that I've faced over the last 8 years is that most people don't even know I exist. And I've seen this, and this isn't meant as any kind of negative. I'm not fueling any anger here. I'm just explaining to you the reality of the situation. And I'm not angry or frustrated, and I have nothing against Rodney because he's super nice and his channel's absolutely fantastic. But there's so many people out there in the board game industry who know that Watch It Played does tutorial videos who's never heard of me. And the reason why I'm using this as the Monopoly comparison is they get a new game, they go to Rodney's channel. Has Rodney done a how to play video on it? No. Therefore, nobody has done a video on it. I've heard this so many times. Literally every month I will read a post somewhere to say, I've bought this new game and Rodney hasn't done a video on it. Oh, well. And sometimes somebody might reply and say, well, no, but Paul Grogan did a how to play video, which is, of the same style as Rodney's. You might want to go and check that out. And sometimes they go, oh yeah, thank you very much. That's great. But the fact is, people gravitate to what they know. And it's the same with Monopoly. So Monopoly is in that situation where it's popular because it's popular. It's still a terrible game. It is a terrible, terrible, terrible game. And most people who are watching this video and most people who are modern gamers will know it's a terrible game. So why is it so popular? It's because it's popular. And it's already got so much momentum now. And what perpetuates that momentum is people. You get your Auntie Sheila who thinks, oh, it's Paul's birthday. Paul likes board games. Right, I'm going to go into a shop. Right, I'm going to go into a shop that sells games. So let's go into WH Smith's or whatever. Oh, look, there's a Monopoly Columpton. Paul lives in Columpton. He likes board games. I'll buy him Monopoly Columpton. Now, that is a silly example, but I think that's true. I think a lot of people who buy Monopoly for somebody as a present know that Monopoly is a game. And the fact that there's all of these different Monopolies go, they like Disney, I'll buy Monopoly Cinderella or, whatever. And I think that's why it is where it is. Maybe that comparison between me and Rodney isn't a valid one, but that's just the first thing that popped into my mind. Right, next we are moving on to another question from Rafa. Have I played any Ashes, Reborn, Red Rains or Paleo, and what are my thoughts? No, Ashes, Reborn, Red Rains, I think, correct me if I'm wrong, that's the cooperative version of Ashes, and I haven't had any new Ashes stuff for years. Ashes is one of those games where if I had more time, I would be playing Ashes a lot more, because I think Ashes is an amazing game, and there's cooperative version of Ashes now, and I love cooperative games. If I did, it would become one of my favourite games. I know that, but I just haven't had a chance to try it. Have I tried Paleo? Haven't played that either. Right, next question from Aidan. Will I be crumbling a Jaffa cake into my porridge at Full Board Gaming? If they had Jaffa cakes at Full Board Gaming, then I possibly would. No, the reason why I don't at Full Board Gaming is that I do have porridge in a morning at Full Board Gaming, but the porridge that they offer is already very sweet because they have so many things added to it. And they say, oh, what would you like in your porridge? And I'm like, everything, literally everything. Throw everything in, cinnamon, honey, dead dog, all of this stuff. Throw it all in, mix it all up. So the porridge that I have at Full Board Gaming doesn't need a Jaffa cake to sweeten it. Whereas the porridge that I make at home absolutely does, because it's basically porridge, 50% water, 50% milk, handful of nuts, half a banana. Tastes a little bit like gruel. Next question from Rafa. If you were to choose one out of the two, Civolution or Voidfall, which would it be? Civolution. Both are fantastic games, but I'm going to go Civolution. Gaming Dave says, now that you are a gamer, but is it got chance that you become a game designer too one day? I mean, technically I am, Dave. If you look on Board Game Geek, I am technically a game designer because I helped design the latter two board game expansions for Mage Knight. But if you are asking, will there ever be an actual game published like this, but with my name on the box? 5 years ago, I would have said I hope to. Now, the reality is I've accepted it will probably never happen. And that's because I don't think I have the skills and the qualities to be a games designer from scratch, nor do I have the time and the patience to go through all of the painful processes of playtesting, development, and all of that. I don't think I can. I'm a game developer. I feel that I'm quite a good game developer. I can go in, I can tell people what's wrong and help fix it. But as for actual game design, I've got lots of creative ideas, but I don't think I have the time and ability to see those creative ideas through to a final game design. Next question from Stefan. Do I know anything about the expansion for Shackleton Base? Only a little bit, because I bumped into Fabio at UK Games Expo and he was telling me a bit about it. But I was very, very tired and I don't really remember. So I think I said to him, is it going to come with new different corporations? And he said yes, which obviously it's going to. But no, I don't really know much more about it. And Jaffa cakes here in Finland, they're Jaffa cookies. You can send me a pack. Well, that would be very much appreciated. Don't feel you have to, but any gifts that are edible are always very welcome because they do get eaten eventually. Right, next question from John. How can I manage all of the new game releases and your growing backlog, especially when you're running out of space, don't have time to play anything, and I'm feeling very overwhelmed? John, that's exactly where I am. And this is my job, right? So I'm guessing you have another full-time job that isn't in board games, but everything you have written there is exactly how I feel on a daily basis. And I think it's a growing feeling within the board game industry. Within the board gaming hobby. Overwhelmed by all of the by how can you manage all of the new releases? You can't. There's too many games coming out. Every week, 3 new games on Kickstarter or GameFound that look amazing. Growing backlog, yeah. Especially when you're running out of space, yes. Don't have time to play everything, yes. Feeling overwhelmed, yes. This sounds like one of those adverts that you see in the middle of a TV series. How can you manage it? Right, well, the first thing is, 1, you need to stop buying new games. You need to seriously restrict yourself on buying new games. Right. 2, how do you address your growing backlog? Here's how you do it. Organise a games weekend. Find a weekend when you're free. Organise a games weekend. Invite some of your friends to come over. The theme of the weekend, unplayed games. And literally get through your unplayed games as much as you can, right? And if they're not amazing, get rid of them. or give them to one of your friends, or sell them, or whatever. So that would be my suggestion. Literally, take a weekend out, organize a games weekend, and don't play anything that you know. Play all of your, well, as many of your unplayed games as you can. Running out of space, yeah, you need to be more ruthless. That's what I've had to be. Have to be more ruthless, getting rid of games. I don't sell mine, I give them away to a charity raffle and help raise money for charity. What you do with them is up to you, but I do that with mine because I generally didn't pay for my games. And you don't have time to play everything and you're feeling very overwhelmed. Yes, and there is no easy fix for that. You just have to come to terms with it. The fact that you won't play all of these great games. That's just where we are. Next question from Albert. Have you ever felt overwhelmed by all the cool games that you want to play or buy? Same question. It's yeah, absolutely. I feel that too. And I get even more frustrated about it because this is my full-time job. And I theoretically should be playing more games than you're playing because you've got a job to go to Monday to Friday. But yeah, I still get frustrated and overwhelmed by it. Does it sometimes stop me from really enjoying the one you're already playing? No, not at all. When I'm playing a game, I am focused on that game and I thoroughly enjoy it as much as I'm able to. Next question from Augustin. Looking forward to starting a channel for board games like mine, but in Spanish. Any tips for a young lad? Lots. Lots and lots of tips. But what I would suggest, because we're running out of time today, is go over to my guild on Board Game Geek, guild number 2258. If you're not a member, make a post. Start a new post on there in the general section and just say, you're thinking of starting a board game channel. Any tips? I will help you as much as I can, but there are other content creators too who will be more than happy to help out. Just my number one tip, don't underestimate how much stress it is and how much hard work it is and how much sacrifice you will have to give, because it takes a lot of time. People have said, I make the live streams look easy. It's not easy. There's 10 years of experience and hours, dozens of hours, hundreds of hours gone in, money, setup time and everything. It's very demanding and it's a lot of work. Next question from John. Can you remind us of the digital game that's based on Mage Knight? It is Paladin's Oath. It's on Steam. It is, I think, 100% a copy of Mage Knight with every single name of everything changed. And that's why I found it confusing to play, because it's like, oh, it's not a that card, it's a something else card. No, it's not that card, it's something else. Oh, and that's not a monastery, it's something else. They've renamed everything for obvious reasons, but it is, I believe, a 100% direct adaptation of the game. Next question from Dan. What audiobooks are you listening to? Right now, I am listening to book 3 of the Farseer trilogy, which is Assassin's Quest, Assassin's something or other. It's book 3 of the Farseer trilogy, and the story behind it is, this is the last book that I was physically reading before I stopped being able to read books, which is another long story for another time, but I am no longer really able to read physical books. And the last book that I was reading before I stopped was book 3 of the Farseer trilogy, and I never finished it. And that was over 10 years ago. And it's been on my back for the last 10 years that I am on book 3 of a trilogy and I never read it. I am now listening to the audiobook. So at some point in the next month or two, depending on how much I go to the gym, I will finally finish reading the trilogy. And then after that, I'm going on to the Terry Pratchett books. I've got all of the audiobooks for every Terry Pratchett book, and it's on my bucket list. I want to read more Terry Pratchett, so I'm going to go through all of the Terry Pratchett audiobooks. Final question for today. Breeny87. What are your top 3 board games this year? I can give you 2. I can give you 2 off the top of my head. Easily. Galactic Cruise, Elder Scrolls Betrayal of the Second Era. You want a third one? Right. Give me a minute and I am going to pull up my list on Board Game Geek of all of the games that I've played this year, and I'm going to very quickly try and give you what my third one is. Right, here we go. Logged plays. Logged plays from 1st of January 2025 to the present date, ordered by Board Game. Okay, here we go. Oh, that's really good. That's really good. That was really good. That's really good. That's really good. That's really good. I mean, are you saying 2025 games that came out in 2025? Because if we're talking about games that came out in 2025, this really restricts this list. So let's talk about games that only came out in 2025. Galactic Cruise came out at the start of the year. Elder Scrolls Betrayal of the Second Era came out at the start of the year. So Civolution came out last year. Sanctuary is really good. Star Wars Battle of Hoth I've enjoyed a lot. I'm not going to say it's in my top 3. Kinfire Council was really good. Manefa was last year. Star Trek Captain's Chair technically last year, although this year for some. This year for many. Tianzia was actually really good. Oof. Assyria 2nd edition is not technically out yet, so I can't pick that one. Yeah, Galactic Cruise is on there. Ooh, that. Okay, that's a couple of years ago. SETI was last year. I'm going down the list. I mean, there aren't that many 2025 games that I have played this year. Most of these that I'm reading through now are from last year or earlier. So the next one I'm going to suggest, and this is because I was super blown away by my first game of it, and I loved it and thoroughly enjoyed it, but I've only played it the once, is the Lord of the Rings Fate of the Fellowship, the new pandemic style game from Matt Leacock. I'm going to pick that one, but caveat, I've only played it once, and I haven't actually played that many games that technically have come out from 2025. Yeah, I might post this list later on my Slack channel for everybody to point out which of these games actually came out in 2025. There are some on here that I've enjoyed, but I don't think would make my top 3, but the first 2 were easy. So there we go. We are all done. And how long were we today? Wow, 2 hours, 10 minutes. Longest Q&A ever. Just as a reminder for those of you that tuned in late, these Q&As are not sponsored. Therefore, I do rely on the financial support of my Patreon campaign, not only to keep the channel going in generally, but they fund this Q&A. So this Q&A is not sponsored by anybody, and all of the advertising revenue, if you've got an advert at the start of the stream, all of the advertising revenue goes to charity. So I don't make any money from these videos, and the only reason I'm able to do that is thanks to the support of the Patreon campaign. If you are not a Patreon supporter and you want to support me directly, you can for as little as $1 a month or $3 a month if you want access to the Slack channel, patreon.com/gaming rules. And remember, if we do manage to maintain 1,200 Patreon supporters, then I will continue taking 2 weeks a year off work, one in July and one in December, where I take the week off work and I play through games, none of which are paid for, as voted on by Patreon supporters. And also remember, I'm doing a giveaway, and the giveaway this month is special because I'm celebrating reaching 1,200 Patreon supporters. £75 worth of games vouchers. £50 of that is my own money, and £25 of that comes from Games Law. So a big thank you to Games Law for contributing to that and supporting the channel. All you need to do is fill in the form, which is in the description of this video, and Vicky's going to post a link to it in the chat now. And the secret word for today is Deckers. Deckers is a new game coming out later this year, designed by Richard Wilkins, published by Deep Print Games and Pegasus Spiel. There you go. That's it. That's everything. So plugged to the Patreon, talked about the giveaway contest. We're all done. Yeah, that's everything. Thor's fast asleep on the chair there. I don't know where Loki is. He's fast asleep somewhere else. But we do have a cat in the room looking very, very content. Have you taken a photo of him and put him on Slack? Okay, we're going to take a photo of Thor while he's asleep, and we're going to put it on Slack. In fact, no, I don't want to switch to the other camera now because it might not even be ready. But anyway, we're all done for today. Thank you very much to everybody for watching. Thank you very much to all of the questions in advance. I will go and remember to update my BGG list with the equipment that I use. And other than that, we're all done. So yeah, thank you very much for watching. Take care, everybody. I'll see you all next time. Bye-bye.